Live. This is the Microsoft 365 Development Bi-Weekly Community Call. My name is David Warner with Microsoft, and I will be your host, a PnP team member as well. Let's take a look at our agenda for today. We're going to cover the latest on a number of PnP initiatives: PnP Framework, Core SDK, PowerShell, Yo Teams, Microsoft Graph Toolkit. We'll also see a whole host of sample opportunities that you can contribute to: Teams, Power Platform, script samples, and more. We're also going to have the optional picture time, which we know everyone enjoys. And then we're going to get to our all-stars of the day: Natalie and Mikhail on updates on the independent publisher connectors and Miro connector demo. Then Leon is going to cover SharePoint Syntex and content assembly, which is modern mail merge. And then Appy is going to show us how to use CLI for Microsoft 365 to get HaveIBeenPwned status. So a lot of exciting opportunities to see those demos today. You also have an opportunity to participate in the community, and we encourage and welcome that. There are a number of ways in which you can do that. You can demo a technical or solution, as we are going to see all of our all-stars doing today. You're also able to contribute on GitHub via a number of sample repositories, and we'll talk how you can get assistance and where you can do that. And then you can also provide feedback. We always love to hear constructive feedback, whether it be good or ways in which we can make improvements. And if you would like to demo on one of these calls, we invite you to fill out the demo spot form. You can do that at aka.ms/m365pnp/request/demo. Now, there are a number of other initiatives and opportunities for you to get involved. All of our videos are available via two channels on YouTube: Microsoft 365 Developer Videos and Microsoft 365 Community Videos. We also have a number of open source initiatives across a number of GitHub repositories for things like PnP.js, the best way to access SharePoint data. We've got CLI for Microsoft 365, which is available for you to access additional tenant data, and a number of other opportunities. Sample galleries galore: team samples, SPFX samples, Power Platform samples, SPFX extensions, list formatting, script samples, and so much more. But you do not need to remember all of those AKA URLs. You only need to remember one thing, and that is the aka.ms/m365pnp landing page, which will provide you access to all of the initiatives within the community. Speaking of initiatives, let's start out with script samples and Paul Bullock.
Hey everybody, script samples is a place where you can share your PowerShell or Bash scripts for performing tasks with 365 services, which is super cool. So the site supports things like Microsoft Graph, CLI for 365, PnP PowerShell, SBA Management Shell, many tools that we can support in the site. And if it's not listed, then we can expand the site to include those samples. This is also integrated with the solution sample gallery. So if you contribute to this space here, you'll also see in that space as well as they're integrated. We have a number of new samples from our contributors, which is super cool. So we got bulk library generation from JC. We got create modern SharePoint pages and add web parts from myself. Bulk convert publishing, classic publishing pages to modern pages. So I've updated the samples there. Update user profile properties from Jan Danny, and we've got some updates where we've got a new variation to delete custom SharePoint site designs from Leon Armston, which is super cool. So thank you very much for your contributions. We are past 200, which is super cool. And if you haven't registered for the recognition program, there is a badge for those that do contribute to script samples as well. If you need any support with any submissions, then absolutely reach out to myself or the team, and I'll absolutely help you with any submissions you want to do. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. I think you pulled a allow myself to thank myself opportunity there, right? Very cool. Excellent work, everybody. And yeah, definitely get signed up for that recognition program, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. Now, if you would like to contribute to any of these opportunities for contributions, but you feel like maybe you're not aware of the landscape, Sharing is Caring is a program that is for you. It is a hands-on opportunity for you to learn how to do things like submit your first pull request, or set up your workstation for working within SPFX, or some of the PnP samples that are available to you. A number of topics that we provide. These are safe space, live opportunities for you to interact and to collaborate with others in the community, where we will walk you through hand in hand how to accomplish any number of these topics. Not recorded, great opportunity to collaborate, and again, safe space and scheduled throughout. Now, as I've mentioned recently, we're still scheduling out some future dates, so definitely be on the lookout for that. One of our newest and most popular is the Power Platform samples, first-time contributor, and we've got the Viva Connections ACE Ask Me Anything coming up. We'll be scheduling that anytime, so be on the lookout for that. Encourage anyone and everyone to register. Reach out if you have any questions. Now, as Paul had mentioned, we want to celebrate and recognize all the amazing work that you are doing in the community in a formal and official way. Our recognition program does just that by partnering with Credly to create formal and official badges that can be associated to your LinkedIn profile. You can share them with your clients, with your managers, and just show how involved in the community that you are. We cover all the costs. All we need you to do is opt in. We've got some new badges that have just been released. In fact, some of our presenters have just gotten them, and so you'll probably see them in the wild today. Do please register for this, aka.ms/m365pnp-recognition. If you've already registered, no need to do it each year. We got you. We'll cover everything for you from year to year. Thank you again for all those who have registered, and we look forward to awarding out those new badges. The agenda for the upcoming Microsoft 365 platform call on the 5th of April at 8 a.m. Pacific includes the future of self-service Microsoft Graph SDKs, how to get started on creating custom list templates for your organization, and Graph API support for new content type sync enhancements. Now, this call is specifically including presenters from Microsoft. So if you're looking to get the closest to the mothership as possible information, definitely make sure you get this on your agenda and on your calendar. It is the platform call, which is going to provide you all the information directly from Microsoft. So you're always getting it from the program managers and the engineers on that side. Excellent. Don't miss it. Next up is PnP.NET libraries, and we'll call on Bert to give us an update.
Thank you, David. So this week was a release week. We finally released the PnP Core SDK version 1.6. And the key new things in this version are we have a GA of our admin library. So the admin library allows you to work with site collections, enumerate them, create them, change properties of tenant, of site collections, multi-geo support, and much more. Go check it out. It's in our documentation and really a nice summary of admin-related tasks that you would do from SharePoint and Microsoft 365 as well. We also have site branding support, so you can now configure a site header, footer, put the image there, change the layout, all these things that you can do from the UI. You can do it as well from the APIs. Support for search, you can use search queries. Viva Connections, dashboard support, so you can actually go to your dashboard and add and remove ACEs, shuffle them around, configure them similar way than you would do with a modern page. And finally, but not least, throttling notifications. So when you get throttled with PnP Core SDK, and throttling can happen, we all know that, we all have faced throttling, you can subscribe to an event and you get notified about, hey, I am throttled. This is the first step. We plan to introduce more features there where once we have them in product, you'll get more information about the throttling itself, enabling you to provide a better response in your application. We also released PnP Framework version 1.9. Main focus there was just continuous improvements and small fixes, and there's no major big things coming back to PnP Framework, but there's a continuous stream of PRs from community providing small fixes, small enhancements here and there. So great stuff. Keep it up, community, and let's keep on moving forward. And to summarize what happened in the .NET space, we did the releases, which you just talked about. Upcoming work for PnP Framework is the usual thing, is mainly focusing on PRs and small changes that come from by community. The Core SDK side, there is a PR that will bring navigation support to PnP Core SDK from Matthijs Verbeek, which I still have to process, but that will be done pretty soon. And furthermore, there is additional smaller fixes and improvements being done, kind of cleaning up the bug list and issue list, and what else? Usage skyrocketing, 180,000 tenants using .NET components on a monthly basis. So that's a ton of people using it, and I think I can wrap up with that. Now over to Gautam for PowerShell.
Thank you. PnP PowerShell, hot on the release of PnP Core and PnP Framework SDK. We also released the V10 1.10 version of the PnP PowerShell. It's again a massive release containing tons of new commandlets that we added and improved a lot of code quality as well as a lot of bug fixes that we did. So one of the favorite commands is the new PnP Teams command, and that has been improved, and it is now able to support up to like 10,000 users if you want to add them inside a particular team. So you can just do that. And the best part about this is the support for Graph API. So it's like if you want to add like 200 users in a batch, we do that inside that new PnP Teams commandlet. So that kind of improves the addition of the users to the teams. Lots of focus on the content types. So the new commandlets have been added for the publishing as well as the unpublishing of the content types from a content type hub. So a lot of customers have this kind of a scenario where they have a content type hub and they want to publish the content types from a central hub to the destination side collections. So the support for that has also been added. Another interesting command that has been added is the new PnP Azure AD user temporary access pass. So it kind of rolls off the tongue, but the thing is, if you're working in an organization which has MFA enabled and some customer has like some user has like forgotten the MFA and you want to like give that person a temporary access so that he can do some different stuff so that he can enable that MFA back, this command will help you doing that. So yep, which is quite interesting command, which was also based on the graph endpoints that we added here. What next? V1.11 whenever we'll start working on the V1.11 release. We love to have PRs, so you can check out the issues list. And that's all from my end. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Bert and Gautam. Very nice. Next up is Yo Teams. Yo Teams is the Teams app generator for SPFX. There's not a lot of new updates, but one of the coolest statistics is that there is an all-time high in new apps and apps built in the last week. So that is really amazing to show the community adoption of this and usage. Don't hesitate to start using it. You can learn more at aka.ms/Yo Teams. Let's move over to Microsoft Graph Toolkit. MGT samples repository is now live, aka.ms/MGT/samples. You can check out all of the MGT samples that are available, similar to the other PnP sample repositories. Version 2.4.0 was released, so you can update your packages. And there's always looking for aligning all toolkit components to Fluid UI web components. And help is always accepted, so you can help build and improve features, good first issue opportunities at aka.ms/MGT/issues. Let's move over to Microsoft Teams samples with Bob German.
Hi, it's great to see you all. Unfortunately, we don't have any new samples this week, so I'll just put in a plug for new samples, please. Would love to have your submission. If you need some help, let me know. I'm glad just drop an issue or your pull request or a comment, or grab me on Twitter or whatever. But yeah, we need more team samples. We did cross 100, I think, recently. Good, but we a lot more. So back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob. And always looking to accept samples, as Bob said. So we love to help out. Don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions. Also, Power Platform Samples is looking for more samples as well. This is a newer repository that is available for anyone and everyone. If you're wondering how to submit, there are a number of ways, a number of opportunities between Power Apps, Power Effects, Power Automate, Power BI, and Power Virtual Agents. Join the Power Platform Contributor Sharing is Caring session on April 10th. You can sign up for that today, and we will show you how to get more involved. What time is it? It is picture time, optional picture time. So let's turn on our cameras if you would like to be part of our together mode, and Vess is already on it. Taking over the screen.
I'm here. Let's wait again 20 seconds, 30 seconds, so we get everybody who wants to be in here. And good to see that Todd got into the call. You had some problems. Yeah, I can see you happy with that. So, so the one funny before we start the recording, it would be really fun to spend at some point a few minutes on trying to do wave in this and get it recorded. So trying to figure out which line I am versus everything. But I will start the recording. One more second. And well, let's do some hand waving. We get this one done. So thanks everybody for joining. Really awesome to have you in the call again. Great to have you in here. And we'll grab a GIF animation out of this one and share it together with blog post. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome, brilliant. And let's get back on the slides. Thank you, David, on that.
All right, well, we move into our amazing presenters for today. We are going to start out with Natalie and Mikkel on updates on independent publisher connectors and a Miro connector demo. Natalie, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'll just start sharing my screen now. So for those of you who don't know what independent publisher connectors are, essentially these are connectors that are contributed by the community, so by MVPs, developers, Microsoft employees. We're seeing a large variety of contributors. And these connectors surface in Power Apps, Power Automate, and Azure Logic Apps with no extra downloads. So they're available right within the product. So right now we have 76 connectors in production, 38 outstanding publishers, and we have 2 new ones that we want to highlight, Christian Matthews Kennington and Andres Fordos. And Andres published 2 connectors this month, so super exciting. You can see the names of everyone who's contributed on the right side of the screen. I also want to highlight, if you're interested in joining the Power Platform Integration Labs call, it's the last Wednesday of each month. So yesterday we had a session on triggers and custom connectors. We go into some deep topics and connectors, data flows, and other integration topics within the Power Platform. So if you're interested in joining, feel free to go to that AKMS link to sign up. And just to have a look at all the awesome connectors that we have in our pipeline still. So we still have 46 more to get published. We had about 10 new connectors this month. One of them is Digital Humanity. We also had Christian had shared a connector to ShipStation. Paul has added 3 connectors to several public services. So it's awesome to see the continued momentum and all the funny connectors that we have and interesting ones like the Lord of the Rings. And today's demo will be provided by Michał Romaszewski, who will be doing a demo on the Miro connector. Michał, take it away.
Let me share my screen. My name is Michał Romaszewski. I'm an Office 365 developer. I'm here today to present the Miro connector. Miro is an application, it's a collaborative platform. It could be used for brainstorming, ideation, mind mapping, and remote meetings. And as a demo, I will clone an existing Miro board and link it as a tab to newly created Teams channel in Microsoft Teams. This is a board template, and this is a simple Canvas app where in the form we can put the team and board details like a name, like description, select team members. And then select the board template to clone. Okay, and let's start. The board and team are being created. While it's loading, I must mention that some operations use my local custom connector with 2 newly created actions for sharing boards and retrieving boards. I recently sent the pull request for these 2 actions, which are currently under review. And the team is just created. So we can open Teams. And we have the new team with the tab with the Miro application. Okay, I will show that. Okay. There is also a new card widget on the board with the board's name and description. And the board is shared with team members. Okay, then let's go ahead and see how I build this. Switch to the first screen. Okay, this combo box creates a collection of boards with the get boards operation, which retrieves all user-owned boards. To add this connector to the power-ups, you have to select data, add data, and search for the connector. And here it is. With the create team button, we call the Power Automate flow. And in the flow, the connector is called to create to copy board with the past name and description from the power up, and then we create a card widget with same name and description. And the next step is to share the board with team members. The rest actions here are just to create a team. And apart from the Teams connector, there is send HTTP request actions from the Office 365 group connector to call Microsoft Graph. And here is to add an app to the newly created team. And here it's to get channel ID, general channel. And here to add a new tab with the Miro-owned application. Like in Power Apps, you can easily add the connector using add an action and can search for the connector and select the actions you want to use. And that's all. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Very, very cool. And I believe this is your first presentation. So excellent job. And thank you for taking the time to spend with us today. Natalie, both of you. Very, very nice. All right. Next up is Leon Armstrong on SharePoint Syntex, content assembly, modern mail merge. So Leon, take it away.
Thank you, David. Okay, so today I want to present SharePoint Syntex, and I want to focus on some new functionality for content assembly, which is similar to modern mail merge, which you may have used in Word, but this is a modern version. So a little bit about me. My name is Leon Armstrong, and I'm an M365 solutions consultant at IntelliJ in London in the United Kingdom. I've worked quite a bit with Syntex and even evaluated it when it was part of the unknown Project Cortex before release. I've took quite an interest in SharePoint Syntex over the past around 18 months as more and more great functionalities come to Syntex and you can really see the power of it. I've used Syntex with quite a few customers to build some great integrated intelligent solutions. You can find details on how you can connect with me through my blog or Twitter or LinkedIn. So today, I want to give a quick intro to SharePoint Syntex, and then I want to give a demo of content assembly and a few more Syntex features. And then I want to give you some steps on how and information on how to find out more or learn more about SharePoint Syntex. So there may be some people on this call that are experts at SharePoint Syntex who have used it lots. There may be some people that have perhaps installed the trial, had a play about with SharePoint Syntex, and maybe not seen the true power or the new functionality of SharePoint Syntex. And then there might be some people even that are like, what is SharePoint Syntex? So to answer that question, in Microsoft's own words, SharePoint Syntex uses advanced AI and machine teaching to amplify human expertise, automate content processing, and transform content into knowledge. So the idea is you use Syntex to create an AI model, and there are two main concepts for the model. So documents are classified, i.e. your model is trained to target a particular type of document. So you set your model to pick out invoices or statements of work or contracts, for example. And then within that model as well, you set it to extract metadata. So you create rules to extract, say, for a contract ID or contractor amount or who the contract's to or their date, for example. And then to extract and classify, there's two main features. It features to extract data, and that's forms processing. So the concept of forms processing, that uses machine learning, which is part of AI Builder, to identify and extract key value pairs and table data from structured or semi-structured documents. So as the name says, it's good for forms or invoices where, there's reliable structured data in front of, and you're targeting a particular section on a particular piece on the form. Then there is document understanding, which works best for unstructured documents, such as letters or contracts that have text that can be identified from phrases or patterns. So document understanding, so your documents could be 1 page, the next document might be 2 pages, 3 pages. It's variable lengths, and the metadata might be on different, that you want to extract might be on like different pages per document. And then the third one that I've mentioned is content compliance. So because we're picking out particular types of documents, we could set a retention label to whenever there's a statement of work, say it has to be retained for 7 years or longer. And we can also do the same with sensitivity labels. So now there's some great advanced syntax features coming to the product, such as content assembly, which I'm covering today, and other vertical solutions such as contract management, etc. So about content assembly, it was released quite recently at the end of January this year. It enables you to use an existing Microsoft Word document to create a modern template, and then use that template to automatically generate new Microsoft Word documents, and using SharePoint lists or manual user inputs as a data source. So it helps you to automatically generate standard repetitive documents such as contract, statements of work, service agreements, for example. A SharePoint Syntex license is required to do that, and you also need managed list permissions on a library to use content assembly. And this is what Microsoft talk about is the typical content lifecycle. So Syntex has been made to support the concept that most organizations will have in their organization. The idea is that content comes in, it's processed, so it might be processed by Syntex to extract the metadata, and then you have to respond to it. So that could be using the metadata in a workflow, it could be manual process, and then you're going to do something with it. So it might be that we use content assembly, the whole purpose of this presentation, to create a new document to respond to that content. And then secondly, and finally, that document is, say, sent out for signature, that maybe comes back a few months later, signed, and then it's fed back in and a Syntex model picks it up again. So the idea is there might be many different content life cycles. So I now want to demo content assembly. So here we have a list of superstars. This is a SharePoint list, and we have these superstars have been submitting to the PnP repositories and doing pull requests, etc. So we want to reward them for their contributions. So we want to send them a letter outlining this. So first of all, I'm going to do this all from scratch. So we're just going to create a new document library. So we'll call this PnP rewards. And now I'm going to show you how to set up a modern template. So in every library, you can create a modern template if you've got Syntex license or you've got managed list permissions. So we go create a modern template. We upload a document from our computer, an existing document. This is then uploaded to the library, and we then have this template engine here. So the document is then loaded up, and we want to change these placeholders that I've created into actual Syntex content assembly placeholders. So I'll then name this, name my placeholder, and then I need to select which SharePoint list or document library to get my data from. So it could be on a different site, but this is the same site. So I want to go to this superstars list here. Now I need to map the field. So I've got a field called location name that I'm going to map that to. I could allow authors to add new choices if I'm not happy with those choices. And now I've just got to map the other fields. And it's the same process again, apologies. One thing you did see there was if you tab out of it, it doesn't automatically save. You have to actively go add. So we've lost that. So we'll now just do the date and skip the city. You can have manual fields. So we could have when the document is generated, we ask them for a date and time. So that's what I want to do here. And now I want to ensure that this letter goes to PnP Parker here. So I'm going to call this name and go back to my superstars list. And I know that the name is in the title here. So I'm going to add that now. I'm going to change the name of the template. And now I'm going to publish this template here. So that's now published and available in my library. So if I go to the new section, I can go to my PnP recognition letter here. And now if I go to name here, I can select PnP Parker here. And we're going to produce a letter for him. And now I select, I want it to be today's date. I'll call this PnP Parker, the name of the letter. And now it will create the document really quickly. So I can now go into this and see that PnP Parker's got a letter. He's at the Microsoft corporate office, and it gives him all the instructions to sign up to Credly and get his PnP badges. So you may be wondering, yeah, why can't we do this in automated, or why isn't there an API to do this? So I've spoken with Microsoft about this, and I've shared to them that, yeah, an API would be good. It would be good to do bulk automation. So yeah, they have acknowledged that this feedback and are working on something for later in the year. Their best guess is late summer, early fall, subject to change, of course. And I've got to thank Ian Story of the Syntex team for allowing me to say that without breaking NDA. So now I just want to show you quickly the content lifecycle. So the idea is where I spoke, where content can be created, content can be actioned, and it keeps going around. So there is a contract management template that is available in the SharePoint lookbook. So I'm just going to show. So here we could request a contract. So Clippy has requested a contract for PnP Parker. I'm not going to go through this, but it does have workflows behind the scenes. So I'm not going to show the workflow process, but I'm going to show you all the libraries. So we can then see in that contract request was approved. And we can see that the contract has been created for PnP Parker, and yeah, various details about a community demo and the fit. It's a high value contract of 99999. So then that contract might be emailed out, posted out, and then it's received back as a PDF. So on this library, we have a syntax model. So a person might upload it in here, and the syntax model extracts the fee amount, the contractor, the client, and then we can do stuff like that with that. So we can do a workflow. So we could, when the contract is popped out, this could perhaps go to the CEO to say, please approve, please review and approve. So we have an adaptive card there that we can action. Then once that's been approved, it will go out to the payout list. And then that could be picked up by a workflow. It could go to a third-party finance system who could make the payment automatically, or it could be a manual payment. Now we want to produce a payment receipt to PnP Parker to say we've paid you. So that's been produced. So that's the contract management template in SharePoint Lookbook. You're free to download it as long as you've got a SharePoint Syntex license. But yeah, that gives you an idea of like a contract management accelerator. So I'm now going to return to my slides. I now want to bring to your attention some information on how to get started with Syntex, or how to further contribute to Syntex. So in the PnP GitHub organization, there is a repository for Syntex samples. So this contains community submitted document understanding model templates, which you can download and deploy to your tenant today. And see how other people are using Syntex, see how Microsoft are using Syntex. It has all the documents, and gives you a great start to see how to use Syntex. There is lots of other information on that site on how to get started with Syntex. And to template models, so perhaps you have a pre-production environment where you've created some models and you want to move them to production. You can use the good old PnP provisioning engine to with get PnP site template and invoke PnP site template to move them across between environments. Or you could template your model and create a pull request and add it to the PnP Syntex samples. Within PnP PowerShell as well, there are 5 Syntex commandlets. So that's really good for seeing what models are applied to a site, pushing it out to many different sites, so multiple hundreds of sites, unpublishing models. There's lots of powerful commandlets there. This is a contract management template that I was talking about. On Tuesday, Sean Squires did a good demonstration on the M365 platform call of the SharePoint Lookbook Syntex template. So I'm not going to talk any more about these, but I recommend you catching that great session to see Sean talk about these and how you can get started. But there is a Syntex Content Center, which has lots of additional information and links on how to get started with SharePoint Syntex. A few links here. You might want to take a print screen on how to get started. But as I mentioned, I took quite an interest in SharePoint Syntex. I've created lots of blogs about it. So if you go to my blog, so here's a short link, bit.ly/Leon Syntex series, or go to that QR code. It'll take you to all my blogs on SharePoint Syntex. There's a few, I'm not going to list all of these out, but there's Syntex resources from Microsoft, adoption guides from Microsoft, a filtered view of the Syntex roadmap, and a place to give feedback about SharePoint Syntex to the product team. And then there's Microsoft Learn modules to get started, get learning about SharePoint Syntex. So that's the end of my presentation today. I want to thank you all for watching and seeing the power of content assembly, and also, yeah, the power of Syntex, and yeah, lots more to come from Syntex. Feel free to connect me or ask me any questions about SharePoint Syntex, or connect, yeah, Twitter, LinkedIn, or GitHub. Okay, thank you very much.
Leon, awesome stuff. Really, really cool. Love how you went into depth and showing all that and had some fun with it at the same time. Really shows how collaborative and fun the community can be. So excellent job. Thank you. Our last and final demo of the day is Albert Jean Schott, or otherwise known as Appy, how to use CLI from Microsoft 365 to get HaveIBeenPwned status. Take it away.
Let's see if I can share my screen.
Got it. Looks great.
Awesome. Awesome. So I've got a few slides, not too many, but just to get you started, we're going to show off with CLI from 365, and we're going to use some of the commands and samples that we have in there. Before we actually get started, if you want to try out the CLI from 365, you can. The idea behind it is that we believe that you should be able to manage your M365 environment, M365 tenant from any platform. So the CLI is a cross-platform way of working with your data, calling commands, executing information. And the cool thing about it is that it works on any platform, obviously, because that's the whole idea. And the idea is that you sign in once, that you can interact with the platform and run commands to your tenant. Now, those commands can just be run from any OS, whether it's Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. And they can also be run from any shell, whether you use PowerShell, Windows Terminal, whether you like Bash, Commander, whatever you like. And there's one login. So you sign in once, and then you're validated or authenticated against all the services. Now, from a technology stack, it actually runs on Node.js. So we do need you to have Node.js on your machine. And as soon as you have Node.js, then you can install the CLI. You can do npm install or use yarn for that matter. And once you have it installed, then you need to sign in. We use the Azure Active Directory to make sure that all the requests are secure, that you can do anything you don't have permissions to, that, well, obviously you shouldn't be able to do anything you don't have permissions to, but that you can just do the stuff that you can. But assuming that you've seen that there are samples out there how to get the CLI installed. There's actually, I think I've been a recording at one of these calls like a year ago where we went through. But once you have it installed, you can actually work with it. Now, if you would want to work with some of the commands, let's imagine that you want to work with the HaveIBeenPwned, then to actually run a sample like that, there are just a few commands that you have to run. First of all, you have to get the users that you want to play around with. Maybe you want to get all users, maybe you want to get a subset of users. Then what you actually do is you get the status, the HaveIBeenPwned status per user. And there is an API for that I'm going to show you in a second. Then based on the results, then you want to report problems, or you want to report that everything is correct. And then with that sample, you can actually run wherever you like. So you could run it in a Docker container. You can run it in, you can actually orchestrate it with a Logic app, or you can just run it on your machine. So that's the link to that's the link to the demo. Let's have a look. Now, let me close out my my PowerPoint. If you want to get started, we've got documentation out there that explains pretty much everything you need to do. So we've got documentation that helps you get it installed, make sure you're signed in, and if you're good, then as you can see, okay, you can log in. But in my experience, let's do M365 status. You will see that I'm connected, I'm there, everything is correct. Now, what we also have is we've got details on all the commands that we have. So if you're looking to inspiration or just want to know what you can actually do, then here you can see all the different commands that we have. And we've got a command that, well, just gets either your users. So I can go to, okay, Azure Active Directory, user, and I can get a specific user, I get list a specific user, and also here's the documentation around HaveIBeenPwned status, where you can, as you can see, retrieve all the accounts that have been pwned with a specific username. So if you would run this, you actually need a HaveIBeenPwned key, because we're calling the API. You'll need an API key. And if you look at the way that HaveIBeenPwned works, is that if you look at the API or the description of the API, they actually explain what they do. But if you look at the API key, you can just get an API key. You actually have to buy one. It's like, there it is, $3.50 a month. And there is this nice blog post explaining why you actually need to pay for it. I'm more than happy to do that. If you don't, then well, you have bad luck. You can't work with this API without that key. But once you have an API key and you actually bought one, and I bought the one for a single month, so I can just play around with it. But once you have that API key, you can actually run a command. So let's do M365 Azure Active Directory user HaveIBeenPwned, pass in a username, pass in that API key. I'm gonna copy it, and I'm gonna run it. Now, if I run this, what this will do is it will tell me whether, okay, yes, there's been no pwnouts. Everything is done, no problem, it will work. If I would pick another account that I have, it's a similar account, same command. But this will actually tell me, okay, you've been part of breaches. So I've got a Hotmail account. I've had it for, I don't know, like 20 years now. And apparently I signed up for Last.fm, I signed up for Adobe, I signed up for Tumblr. And apparently I've been part of breaches that they have had. Now, luckily I'm aware, so I've changed my password. Nothing problematic there. But at least now I know that I'm aware of breaches with this account. So this is all you need to do to get the HaveIBeenPwned status for a specific account. Now, coming from there, what you can do is you can come up with some more advanced scenarios. So you could say, okay, we've got a sample script for that, actually. Let's get all users. So walking through the script, what we do is we make sure that you're not logged out. If you're logged out, we ask you to log in. But if you're logged in, then we're going to retrieve all the users, and we're going to get all the Active Directory users. We get their display name and their user principal name. And then what we can do is we can iterate over those different users. And we're going to say, okay, let's write out a statement that we're checking the user, and then we get the status. If the status is no pwnouts found, or is not equal to no pwnouts found, there actually is something, there is a breach. So currently we're just writing it out. Obviously, you can add it to a list and make sure that their passwords have been changed recently, or maybe we want them to let them know that they've been have been breached. So you can do whatever you like with it, but this would just be running. And if I would do the, let me get it, check this one. So let me run this one. And what you will see is it will get all the Active Directory users. And in my environment, I just have a few, like 15. So it will go through all the different users and we'll just say, okay, no breaches found, no breaches found, if there are no breaches found. So this looks good. I mean, no problem here. And I'm going to cancel it because I'm lazy, not want to wait for it. Everything is fine. Coming from there, you can actually come up with some more advanced scenarios. So you could say, instead of getting all users, I want to get all users for a specific SharePoint site, and I want to query those users, and I want to extract from those users only external users. So what this would do is this would pick up a specific site, in this case, my crisis management site that I got from the lookbook, and in there, I'm going to say, okay, give me all the external users. And then rather than putting in the username here, I'm going to put in the user email, because if I do that, there we go. What I then can do is I can say, okay, give me the status for external users on a specific site. So if I would run this, CLI, check, HTTP external, it's going to issue with user appieschot@gmail. So apparently I cannot get that status, or no, I can. This actually works correctly. There we go. So issues with, and then I get my my HaveIBeenPwned status. So apparently that account, the Gmail account, has been part of a breach. I actually made a typo, so now it pastes this out wrongly. But the breach that I'm part of is the GFIT breach. So now I know that this external account on this specific site actually is part of a breach. So there is a risk with this external account within my environment. Now, this is still running on my machine. So what I could potentially do is I could potentially run the same script as part of a Docker container. And there has been a recording for that already. But what you would do is it would be slightly different. Let me open I think it's this one. Yeah, so what you do is you would write a bash script, because if you run it in a Docker container, you'll need to run it as a bash script. You would have pretty much the same sample where you would say, okay, give me all the external users for a specific site, where the site is something you can specify in your logic app, then run the command, and then just get that status and output that status. Now, if you want to run this, what you actually need to do is you'll need to create a logic app. And within that logic app, what you can do is you can create a container group. And in that container group, you can actually pull in the CLI M365 Docker container. Probably should get the latest one, but you can specify the version if you want to. And what we do here is we link it to a specific Git repository. That's something you can see here. That Git repository actually does contain the sample scripts. And what I do is in that Git repository, call my sample script pass in the ID of my managed identity, pass in the site that I want to do something with, pass in my HaveIBeenPwned API key. And if I would run this logic app, then it will spin up my Docker container. It will execute this specific script, and it will output all those HaveIBeenPwned statuses. And what we do here is, because we are retrieving that data, if the container is finished, we actually get the logs and then we delete it. Now, you could send the logs as an email, you could parse the logs, you could put it as a adaptive card into Teams. Doesn't really matter what you want to do with it, because you have the logs from the container in your managed identity. There will be a link in the chat with a recording on how to set up the logic app, how to execute the script. If you want to get the sample script, what you actually can do is you can go to our site, you can go to sample scripts, and if you look at the sample scripts, we have all our sample scripts available here. So for the HaveIBeenPwned, the sample script is out there with a short description. If you have any issues, any remarks, anything you want to do, you can always go to our GitHub repository where you can create new issues. We're always looking for ways to improve. So if there's anything you can think of that we should do better, let us know. If you want to help out, there is actually a really good overview of all our good first issues with status open and help wanted. Here you can see that we're currently having 16 open issues, including documentation. If you feel that we should do better there, let us know, including new commands, including feature requests. So there are quite a lot of ways to help us out. And a final shout out, if you're not happy with doing sample scripts, if you actually want to get that HaveIBeenPwned status another way, there recently has been a new independent publisher connection that allows you to do pretty much the same thing using a out-of-the-box flow. So you can get in, let's give it a demo. You'll need that HaveIBeenPwned API key. So what I can do is I can just, oops, wrong one. I can actually get that from, there we go, scripts. I can get it from my sample script. So there we go. I can paste it in there. And as soon as I have a connection, what I can do is I can basically call that same API as I would do in my sample script. I'll need to specify the account, and I can specify whether you want to truncate the responses, filter down the domain, include unverified. So you have some options here as well. It doesn't matter if you like CLI, use CLI. If you want to run it in a container, feel free to run it in a container. If you're looking at flow, works flawlessly as well. With that, I'm done with my demo.
Awesome stuff, Abby. Just amazing how you're using that to provide value, and really love the crossover, by the way, of the independent publisher connectors. It shows how overarching the entire community is and how there are so many different overlapping circles in the technology that can be utilized. So thank you very, very much for that demo. Well done.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get back to our slides. And thank you again to all of our amazing presenters today, Natalie, Nicole, Leon, and Appy. A great job. Thank you all for taking the time. The recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 community YouTube channel, aka.ms/m365pnp/videos. You can subscribe and get all the updates. You may see in the chat that the video is ready for download. It will not be for you if you're not within the Microsoft tenant. So the best way is to go subscribe to that channel within YouTube. You can also follow us on Twitter for more information as well as updates on the video release at Microsoft 365 Dev and at M365 PnP. The next M365 General Dev call will be 2 weeks from today, April 14th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. The next Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework call will be April 7th, 1 week from today at 7 a.m. Pacific time. See all the other community calls at aka.ms/m365, and a glimpse of those are right here. The platform weekly call on Tuesdays, which is the direct from Microsoft call, aka.ms/m365-dev-call. We also have the adaptive card, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office add-ins, and Power Apps community calls that you can get on your calendar as well. That Power Apps is probably going to be converted into a Power Platform, so it's going to cover much more information, so we're excited to see that. And of course, our 2 bi-weekly Microsoft 365 platform community calls, the first of which you are on now, Viva Connections, SharePoint Framework, next week. Get them all at aka.ms/m365pnp. Thank you again, everyone, for being the best part of this community and collaborating on the chat and being here for our presenters to support them. Everyone, have a wonderful rest of your week and a great weekend. Thanks so much.